It's the end of spring break. I just got back from Six Flags with my family, and we're greeted to yet another scheduled banned and restricted announcement. This time, it's touching on Classic Constructed, and as I think most people would expect, nothing is going to be changing in Classic Constructed except a few unbannings. Rootbound Carapace is now unbanned, and Scepter of Pain is also unbanned. These are not super impactful. Obviously, you could still play, or now play, I should say, Rootbound Carapace in like Jarl. You could do that if you were looking to play that, and that's actually a pretty decent pickup. But outside of that, you're not really seeing this make a ton of impact in this current Classic Constructed metagame, and for good reason. Classic Constructed seems to be in a really nice and open spot. As of, these past few weeks, we can kind of determine that based on the results that we've been seeing, including this past weekend's calling over in, where was it? Memphis. Look at that, a calling in Memphis. And we actually have this page pulled up because we're going to talk about the calling in Memphis and not necessarily the Classic Constructed portion of it. Because as we go down here, we are presented with the Silver Age portion of the ban list, but that's the interesting thing, because they were saying they weren't going to do this. They had a Silver Age ban announcement, and then they had a Classic Constructed ban announcement. This is the Classic Constructed ban announcement, so why are they talking about Silver Age? Well, if you've been paying attention to the format at all, like I have, by the way, I love the Silver Age format, even though it is truly primarily a KO and then everybody that tries to answer KO type format. That's kind of what it is. Even though it is that at the highest level, I still think the format is so much freaking fun to play, and I have just been jamming so many Gravy Bones games, it's not even funny. And they wanted to touch on some of the controversy in the Silver Age format right now, and they want to say this. We want to take this opportunity to clearly state their policy around Silver Age bans and their relationship to Silver Age pre-con decks. And they go on to kind of explain this out. They want to make sure, as much as they can, that a Silver Age pre-constructed deck has at least one season of unimpeded legality. Now, they do put some caveats on this. This is the last time they're going to be releasing a chapter style product for these Silver Age decks. Anything going forward is not going to have the same impact, if you will, not the same impact on the overall, I don't even want to say playability, because they do say that the last currently scheduled release in the chapter series is this chapter 3, and they also say that pre-constructed Silver Age offerings will change to something with far less influence over the type of decision making, meaning like, do they ban a card from a pre-constructed deck and make that product sort of invalid off the shelf? And their reasoning to not doing that, I think, is very good for a lot of reasons. Maybe not at the upper echelon, maybe not the most enfranchised players, the players that want to engage with this format at the peak of it, but I think it's really easy for a lot of my audience, and me included, and I'm just going to take a second, I think it's really easy for us, the people that have been playing the game for years, and that are engaging on different levels with the game, sometimes traveling, sometimes engaging, at the highest level, especially with Sage format now being granted a spot at the highest level of competitive play. It's easy for us to see what we're about to go into and say, well, that just sucks for me. But I think it's more than just about you. It's more than just about you. I have to say this to students that I teach all the time, and my own kids, and I have to say this in the mirror sometimes as well. It's not always about us, and sometimes it's about the wider world and what is good or what is better or what is best for a lot of different people, a lot of different players, a lot of people that engage with the format at a wider level. And it's also good for the health of the game if the product can actually move off the shelf and make the LGS that's selling it some money. So they will keep taking product from Flesh and Blood and moving it to players so that more players can engage with it. And that's the thing that I think the most enfranchised players, in some cases, may not recognize as easily. Like, we may just be like, well, I just want to engage with the format at the, like a format that is not as, held down by KO. We're just gonna call it what it is. I don't want to engage with a format that's only KO focused and everyone has to target KO. Can we do something about that? Yes, they could remove cards from the deck, from the pre-con deck. But what happens when they do that? Well, we need to give many folks who have just entered the Flesh and Blood ecosystem a fair opportunity to play with the cards that, in many cases, could be their first and only Flesh and Blood cards they own. If you have a new player who buys the new player product, the thing that is designed for them to engage with the game on the cheapest platform, off the shelf, in a very strong power level, and you have them buy that product, and then they sit down to play in a tournament like an Armory, and then someone says that card is banned, they don't have any recourse. And this is the one negative that I have about the Compendium of Wraith Sage decks. You can't necessarily open a card that could replace a banned card in the pack that comes with it, because Compendium was such a wide-ranging set that there's a chance that you just don't open, in this case, a Brute card to replace that card with. So what do? You're screwed as that player. And what do? You say, oh, well, I guess I'm not playing this game. How do I know that's what would happen? Because I used to play a game called Dice Masters, and I had that moment actually in a game that I was playing with a friend of mine, someone I still know to this day. I told that person, hey, there's been an errata on that card. This was a card he built the entire deck around. He looked at me, I read him the errata, and he said, oh, I'm not playing this game ever again. Almost verbatim to those words. Will it happen to you? Maybe, maybe not. Is that anecdotal to some degree? Yes. But do you want that to happen to Flesh and Blood? I don't. I don't want players to engage with that. And I also don't want local stores to feel like they get completely shafted and can't sell the product, because then they just pull back and they don't support the game. And you don't understand the wider expanse of gaming right now if that doesn't mean anything to you. If you're like, well, screw that store. You don't understand the store doesn't need Flesh and Blood to survive, because they have every other game in the freaking world, and there's 2 more coming out tomorrow. I mean, it's like, this is the world we live in now. So we have to think bigger, and we have to understand that sometimes it may suck to engage in one aspect of the game. But I'm telling you right now, go and play as many other decks as you possibly could want. You may not win a pro tour with that specific Sage deck, but you don't have to engage with that. I mean, you're like the 1% if that's your only target. There's so much more fun to be had with Sage. Now, does it suck if you're like, well, me, for example, who has all of the cards and can build anything and would like to engage with the format without KO, or at least with KO taking a slight step back so there's more space for other heroes? Yes. Yeah, I would like that. But at the same time, I recognize that there's still a lot of room for playing around and experimenting in the format. And at the bare minimum, I can engage with just about any freaking deck in this format at my Armory. That's kind of cool. This format is still quite good, and it's so good that I'm trying to convince, along with a few other players, my local game store, I'm trying to convince them to run a Sage Saturday, literally just a Silver Age every Saturday, short tournaments, easy for someone to buy a deck, play. I'm going to be playing just Gravy Bones or Kasai or something like that. I'm not going to be spiking it until Blaze comes out, and then I'm going to literally cook every freaking person. Never mind. But we're just going to have fun. Maybe LSS can send them out some extra tournament packs, whatever, gym packs. But if they don't, we're literally just going to show up and play, and I think they'll give store credit. Do that. Do that for your local game store. Get more people in the door, because this format is easy to engage with. It's fast, it's fun, and you can play just about everything in the format, in the game of Flesh and Blood. So I know some people are going to hate this, and I get it. I get where they're coming from. But at the same time, you have to realize that there's more to this game and to this format than just that Pro Tour level meta that you can break down. And I know, if I go over here to Pro Tour Memphis and I go to this, and if we talk about the meta, Peter Bedinsek picked it up on KO. This is, by the way, the Sunday showdown that is in Silver Age. Alex Vore also made top 8 on KO, which is just hilarious because it's one letter off of the hero that they are both known for playing. And yet, by the way, Zero Kano's in the top 8, and this is a freaking massacre of a top 8 if you wanted to play Kano and be successful. This is like, I can't even, it would be too explicit for me to describe to you how awful this is for KO. Or sorry, Kano, I should say. It's actually kind of interesting to look at from a KO perspective because Ira, pretty solid, and there's 3 Iras in the top 8. Oldham trying to, again, answer the KOs and doing a fairly fine job. Valda is an aggressive answer to a lot of other decks, but is actually coming on pretty strong in both formats. And then Florian, Stack Florian is quite successful. I would imagine that this is probably Stack Florian, but also there's like a couple of other Florian variants that are kind of floating around. I've been playing against a lot of Florians on Talishar lately, which is kind of cool to see. So this is the overall breakdown. I haven't looked at the numbers across the board. Like if we go back, I have not looked at these standings after round 1 to see like what heroes are like super represented. But as you can see, as I'm scrolling down, there's a lot of KO, a whole lot of KO. So that's the unfortunate side of things, is that we are going to see this type of representation. But at the same time, there's reasoning behind it, and it does kind of suck to some degree, but I can live with this because of these reasons. And honestly, like these were apparent last week. These reasons did not magically change or magically appear just because LSS typed them out. This was here last week. It's not going to change, right? But the other and the final thing we'll talk about is this. They announced a preemptive announcement. They made an announcement about what they're going to ban on Thursday, May 28th. By the way, at this date, they will announce the results of the first round of Silver Age voting. So I actually didn't know when this was going to take place. The Silver Age voting looks like will conclude, and they will announce the results on May 28th, where we will all vote out together, KO and Briar, because screw that deck. I guess Kano as well, but honestly, like, do you guys realize how bad Kano has become over the past like 3 weeks? Everybody and their poor mother's son is playing freaking Steadfast, like on Guardians. Like I played against Alexi, who was playing like this insane switchboard list where they were citing in like cloud covers and friggin' the discard blue, and it was just like so toxic. It's so gross. Like we're probably gonna end up banning Kano, but honestly, it might be just better to hit something else. It's probably gonna end up being Kano. Those will probably be the 3 decks that go. But check this out. In Classic Constructed, they are getting rid of Channel Lightning Valley, Electromagnetic Somersault. That's a good ban. Phantom Tidemaw, for those that don't know, let me just kind of like, here, I'm just going to go to Fabrary really quick. Phantom Tidemaw, this card is going to be freaking nuts with Ziggy. Because Ziggy bounces and rebuilds, like destroys and like flashes in auras, like illusionist cards, this card's gonna be stupid. So yeah, that's a good ban. Reaping Blade is going because Rune Blades exist. Skyward Serenade is going because erratas exist. And then holy crap, Volzar the Lightning Rod. I mean, it kind of, I can see the writing on the wall. This is like an all lightning set. You can imagine that lightning is going to get even better, but to take what has become a good deck to just say, screw you, man. Acilio died for the sins of Brocilio. I had someone in my Discord, I forget who it was, they were like, LSS, this is not what we meant when we said we wanted the lore to mean more and to be more impactful. But see, the funny thing is, if this were 100% lore accurate, Volzar wouldn't be the one going. It would be Starfall, because Starfall is what sacrificed itself, essentially, to remake Acilio into Brocilio. So it's not like perfect. It's not a perfect analog, but it's pretty close. Volzar getting the boot. That means that he's going to have to get a new weapon. And it also means that he's probably going to continue to be really good. If they feel comfortable that Volzar needs to go, then Acilio might be the deck to continue to play. Obviously, made its way at the hands of Michael Hamilton to the finals of this past calling. But what do you think about all of this in the scheduled ban and restricted announcement? How do you feel about Classic, Constructed, and Silver Age? Leave that comment down below and tell me what you want to hear and see covered on this channel going forward. As always, everybody, make the number go to the other number, and thanks for watching.